Cape Horseshoe, a weathered bastion at the edge of the Atlantic. Constructed from salvaged wood, this tiny home is big enough for Carolyn's downsized lifestyle. Barefoot beach walks and boogie boarding are right outside her door. But first we'll visit a private island with its own stone castle and stunning views of Mahone Bay. Anthony has found himself living a dream, owning and operating this luxury rental retreat with its handcrafted design details, manicured gardens, and serene maritime setting. Water, deep, flowing, mysterious, ever-changing yet constant. The inspiration of artists and adventurers, it's the foundation of life. We are drawn to it, to watch it, listen to it, immerse ourselves, and for the fortunate few, to live beside it.
I grew up on the water, so being on and around the water was something I always wanted to be able to do. There's something about the salt water that keeps drawing me back. I grew up in New Brunswick. I came to Nova Scotia for school in 2004 and been here ever since. I remember driving past Mahone Bay, looking at this place and kind of wondering what was going on out there. I think a lot of people did. There's a bit of exclusivity, or not everybody can just come to it, given that it's an island. The second phase was under construction. They were building the lobster temple and the mainland wharf. I started an engineering firm with a few other people. So I had come out at that time to have a look at it. They needed plans done and engineering approval on the proposal. And I became, at that time, more involved with the property. I was requested to take care of the books for the island. One of my partner engineers, he had said that the island was looking for someone for it, and he said, you know, maybe you might be interested. And I said, I don't really know if I have the time. So I said, well, how bad could it be? I made time. I ended up not having enough time for the engineering firm anymore, but it worked itself out. We had a meal with the developer that was doing it at the time, and just chatted about this, that, and everything else, and then it progressed from there. So it started out, I was just effectively bookkeeper, and then it grew into more management, and now into ownership. I was always a fan of big, sprawling houses, especially if they're maze-like. There's something about the idea of the search, even if you know the place, it's nice to be able to have different areas you can go and feel like you're in a completely different place. And if there's a lot of people in this house, there's plenty of place to get away. This one was built with the arts and crafts style. Everything was custom made. So all the finishes were all milled here. So when they built them, they actually put up a milling shop and milled everything. The doors, everything was made here. All the cabinetry was made on site. So everything's a one-off. The great room, this room was definitely one that drew my attention first. Mainly the fireplace. A lot of people you'll bring in, they don't even recognize it as being a fireplace right away. But that's part of the aesthetic I like, is the big, the heavy stone. All the railings and the grate for the fireplace was all handmade. So it was a one-off from a blacksmith that had made it at the time. In here, I like it when you put a fire on, you can just sit in the evening. It's dark and quiet, and you can just enjoy it. So the tower is where a lot of time gets spent in the tower. It's nice because you do have a 360-degree view. So if guys are working in the garden and whatnot, you can kind of keep an eye on what it is they're doing. And it has all little creature comforts, wet bars and fridges and TVs, so it's easy to work and just sit there and relax. The kitchen was built with the intention of hosting groups. The way it's laid out would be If we had a chef come in to show certain groups how to cook, it's set up for actually that function. The countertops are unique. I believe they come from Norway, if I'm not mistaken. And just the size and scale of it was built to be able to handle 12, 14 people for a full meal. One thing that people, when they do come here, guests or whatnot, they're always surprised at how cozy it feels, because when they look at it from the outside, they assume it's a big, cold building. But because of the way it's divided up, it still feels fairly cozy compared to what people think they're going to get into when they get here. I'm not a huge fan of modern, and this one isn't made that way. In this area of the world, you don't see a lot of stonework, and the roof is slate, something else you never see around here. So those design aesthetics came from like Virginia. I'm very minimalist. If I do something myself, it's very simple, but I actually like more intricacy. It's just not something that comes naturally to me. So with this place, being that the intricacy was built in before I ever arrived, it has the character with everything still being new and tight and smooth and all those features too. To me, I always liked a high view, especially a high view of the water. The nice thing with Mahone Bay here is the number of islands and things. So it's not just a vast ocean you're looking at. There's a lot of island features and whatnot. The Rose Hut gives you that high view outlook over the ocean. That feature is nice, being able to get up that high and see the distance into the water. We put our hot tub up there. It's wood-fired, and it's just a sitting room. It has a wet bar and a TV. In big storms, it's always interesting because it's only a small building. So you get to kind of live in it without having to weather the storm, I guess you could say. The beach hut is mainly kids and whatnot, if they go swimming and all that. So it's more of a beach day down there. The beach hut is just nice to be able to sit in. But it's surprising, even in the winter, we put a fire on and it can be a nice spot just to hang out. So we bring in bumblebees every year. And so we bring the bees in because we do have an orchard in our vegetable garden and whatnot, our berries and all that. So we like to get those pollinated. We try to avoid any harsh chemicals and whatnot as best we can. Pesticides and herbicides, a lot of it's done with, like weeding and whatnot is done with good old-fashioned sweat. We try to stay as self-sufficient as we can. Not that we have to rely on it, but it's always nice backstop that you can grow your own food, and fishing and whatnot's always an option. So the Lobster Temple was one of the last additions we had to the building. Being on the water, we always like to have fresh seafood, but some people don't like the smell of fresh seafood in the house. So we made the Lobster Temple to be able to have lobster and keep the smell, the mess outside. We try to do it as fairly simplistically as possible. A lot of the cleanup can easily be done by simply throwing it into the fireplace. And it's kind of become a bit of a tradition with anyone that comes or when we have guests over and whatnot to have a big a lobster boil. And so we cook the lobster over the open fire, and after they're done cooking, we pull them out and we can eat them right on the granite slab of a lobster table. So it's a bit of a unique feature we have as part of the building. I do fish a bit, but not a lot. I don't know why. I grew up, like say, in the fishery, but it was always commercial. I hunt, which it does allow some for that, especially migratory bird. Well, I scuba dive. If you go south into the bay, there's more to look at. There's lots of shoals and things like that. I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm a natural introvert. So living alone on the island is always a nice perk. I've worked from home for a long time now. So with everybody working from home, there was no change for me. So that allowed me to do it. And I can do it from here, or if I have a mainland-based office as well. We have backup power systems and whatnot over here. We are connected to the grid, but we do have backup and things. So if the power does go out, it doesn't, again, really affect us. I don't need to necessarily travel all the time. So again, if you're pinned in the winter especially, or perhaps a storm, hurricane, whatnot, it never really affected me. I could just continue on with my day as per usual. Home is, to me, is just that level of comfort where you can sit and do nothing. That's, for me, home. It's just that natural state. I never thought I'd be here, so I should never assume where I'm gonna be. In the near future, for sure, I don't plan on going anywhere. I'm sure there's always moments where I'm like, what am I doing? but those are luckily few and far between. But yeah, no, it's generally a good day. It's hard to say you're too upset at anything if you take the time to sit down and look out and breathe. There's has to be something innate that draws human beings to the water. And I don't know if it's just like it's in our DNA from hundreds of thousands of years ago or what have you, but there's something about it that draws people to it, and I'm no exception. In a lot of ways, it still embodies a certain level of freedom. You know, there's no speed limits on the water. There's no roads. You go where you want, pretty much when you want, with some exception. But there's still that open freedom. And you have to respect it because it's going to do what it wants, whether you want to do it or not. Still that idea that it's untouched. There's no footprints in the water, there's no one you're following, everything can be new every time.
My heart, I've spent some time living on a lighthouse and living in the country on a lake, and now I'm on the ocean. There's an older home here. My daughter sent me a picture and said, "Mom, that piece of property is for sale." I was in Ottawa and I just made a phone call and I said, "I want it, that's the price, yeah, take it." And then the challenges began. You know, we looked at the old building, it just wasn't worth restoring. There was not enough left. But it's found a new life in the tiny home because actually everything you see, all that lumber is over 100 years old. You gotta work with nature when you're on this piece of property. Because Mother, you know, the earth, I shouldn't say the earth and the water, the ocean is really gonna dictate, you know, what you can and can't do. I think that it's always been a part of me. I think I've always liked small little things, like when you're a kid, you know, like little tiny tea sets, but I've always had something about small. And my parents restored an older home down in Lunenburg County, but I remember even years ago, my mom having the coolest little books of funky little unique places, more so out on the West Coast where you didn't have to insulate. Just tiny little places where, you know, the bed hangs from the ceiling, very small. And I remember how fascinated I was by that. And I'd sort of forgotten about it, you know, just sort of totally forgotten about it. But when this came up, we did really look at just a regular house and all of that type of thing. And then, but tiny living was sort of coming in, and it just made sense. I would say the most unique thing is probably the lumber, the wood. There's no piece of lumber that came from a store. If it isn't old and wasn't recycled and reused, then it was, the pine actually came from my woodlot. I would say that's the biggest unique feature of the entire project, is the fact that it's all wood. Come sit at what I look at while I drink my coffee on the couch, and come see what I look at while I do the dishes at the sink, and come see what I look at when I'm sleeping upstairs in the loft. I've got a queen-size bed up there. When I wake up in the morning, I look outside and I see the ocean, I see the water, I see the sky. I can't miss the full moon. I can't miss any of those things here because they just come beaming in the windows. Of course there's challenges. Yes, of course there is. That's the sitting and enjoying, you know, the nature and what's outside of me. But bottom line is I have a Pacific diet that I live with, and I make a lot of things myself. So I'm cooking and working in through there, and it's, you do have to work things around. I've got a massive sink in there, one of the new, you know, huge new farm sinks in there, so I've got lots of space that way. I didn't downsize with my fridge because I wanted to have lots of room for my veggies and my food. I went with induction stoves that I can put away and pull out when I want them and work around with. My pet peeve is the sink in the bathroom, and it's too small. I would tell everybody, don't buy one of these little, they're cute, but they're not practical. Try to brush your teeth, try to wash your hands. No. I have a horse trough for my shower. The bottom part of my shower stall is actually a horse trough, and then it goes up and gets bigger. Lots of room in the shower, no problems. But my pet peeve would be my sink in the bathroom. In the country and amongst the trees, you do not see the birds flying around, swooping around, gathering up like you do here around the ocean. I've really enjoyed the birds much more than what I could in the country. You know, I appreciate the winds, I appreciate the ocean, I appreciate the trees. I have one tree on my property, one little tree, that's all. I have learned to slow down. I think I was an A-type personality. It used to be go, 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 get up in the morning, list of things to do. I've really learned to slow down. I realized in life how much you miss when you're constantly on the go, go, go and the push. Like the walk has to be the fast walk. I mean, the faster you walk, the less you actually see. And so I have no problem with getting up in the morning and make myself a nice breakfast and coming outside. The key is to eat and be outdoors. And to have my coffee outside and to sit quietly. I practice yoga and meditation, and life can be a bit of a meditation, right? When you learn to slow down and appreciate what's in front of you and learn to be in the moment. And, you know, where do I sit? Well, I mean, there's the lounges up there. They're great. You know, if you want to totally crash and have a little nap or whatever. I also love gardening and I love doing things. I mean, I am active. I I plant around the house and I love gardening. Veggie gardening, you know. So I have stuff that I can eat that came from my own garden. I didn't get into the solar panels because the power was right here. It was just right there. It was easy. Put in a compost toilet, so I'll use less water, and I put in a cistern. So again, that's about using less and working with the land, and it makes totally sense to me that the building was here, and why would I not reuse it and repurpose it? I mean, in the summertime when it's light at 6 o'clock in the morning, I mean, my choices are, let's see, do I want to walk barefoot on this beach here in front of me at Falls Harbor? Do I want to cross the road and go to Johns Cove and walk on that beach? Or do I want to walk up to the lighthouse and sit at the lighthouse at 7 o'clock in the morning and feel like I own the whole thing because there's no one there? And the views are spectacular, just spectacular. I mean, there's so many places to walk. There's so many places to be outdoors. I personally know that I feel better when I am outdoors. Fresh air, exercise, being outside nourishes my soul. And boogie boarding with the grandkids is awesome. And kayaking for sure. If the weather is conducive and you've got someone else to kayak with, you can take the bigger kayaks and go out all the way around the lighthouse and all the way around. Lots of options for the kayaking. Done a lot of traveling, and if anything, it just brings you back with more of an appreciation for Nova Scotia, for Canada, for Nova Scotia, for the Maritimes. Big time. I think we have a lot to be very proud of. People, community, lifestyle, super important. And I guess I'm really happy to know that I'm happy in a tiny house. I don't need more. I don't need big space anymore. There's a time when you have a family and kids, of course you need all that room and space, but some people just go bigger, and I've just enjoyed going smaller. It's less to look after, and I appreciate that. In life in general, you can make home wherever you are. There's the possibilities of doing actually that. I think it's a challenge for a lot of people. I think as I've gotten a little older, I realized that home isn't the material stuff, it's not the stuff. That's why partly I can downsize, right? I don't need to have things. I don't need another room with stuff in it. Home is you and the people and your family and your friends. You carry that inside of you. So, I mean, it's here with me when I'm at the tiny house. I mean, it's also with me when I go to town. I would prefer to be here. This is my number one choice, absolutely. But I think you carry home with you. It's a feeling, it's an energy. You never know when your life is going to get turned upside down. And so I just tell anybody, don't take anything for granted, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And so appreciate what you have, appreciate your friends, your family, your country, the freedom that we have. Yeah, I can't say that enough. It's the most important thing, is to appreciate right here, right now.
Every home has a story. Those living along shorelines often describe a connection to nature or a sense of serenity. Others speak of family and community. These experiences aren't unique to homes near water. Wherever we live, we are enriched when we make meaningful relationships with the natural world and the people we care for. These intrinsic emotional bonds are universal. They are the true essence of being at home.
We're laughing like young lovers on this back road avenue. And this Saturday night, I'm only singing for you. And if we had any problems, you wouldn't know it now. To think that we solved them, lying on the hood, counting stars. We're just a drop in the ocean. No need to fix what ain't broken.